in my opinion, it's a successful trade show. If we go, we represent our company well, and we bring back, some good solid leads.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the 31st episode of the Go Sokal Podcast. And today we're here with Katy Welch, marketing manager at the company, and we're going to focus on trade shows, why you should do them, why it matters to your business, how to do them successfully. It's going to be a fun conversation. And Katy, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks. I mean, typically I'm on that side of the table, and this time I'm on this side, so it's a little different feel, but I'm glad to be here.
Exactly. Full disclaimer, obviously Katy is one of the hosts for our podcast. She's been there since the beginning. And with our trade show coming up, Digital Dealer, in the middle of October, we thought, hey, let's mix it up a little bit this time. Let's ask Katy some questions. Let's get her shared knowledge, and hope you guys learned something. All right, let's do it. So for the first question, Katy, I wanted to ask, why even do a trade show to begin with? Obviously, I can imagine they're expensive. They take a lot of time and planning. Why as a business should you do a trade show?
Well, trade shows are a really good way to connect with your potential clients and also your current clients. Lets them see you in a different light. It lets you have more like one-on-one conversations. You might not close any business there, but you just have those opportunities that you get to sit down and like discuss what's going on. They see you in person, they meet you, they see what you're offering. You can do demos. It's just a different way to connect with them versus through, your like social media or e-blast or dropping by their doors. It's just a different way to connect.
So overall, a little bit more face-to-face, and is it almost feel more casual or easier to kind of have that conversation with them?
Yeah, it does. You're kind of like on their level. You're in a like a neutral kind of setting, and so nobody has really the upper hand. And so I think that also kind of changes the feel. And it's also a really good way to also network with other businesses. Seeing what they're doing. They can see what you're doing. Maybe you might find other vendors that you can work with. So I think that's also a really good reason why you should do trade shows.
You've been doing events in general, I think you said something like 12 years.
Yeah.
And then with this company, and specifically since 2018, you've been knocking out of the park. What kind of tips can you offer to people who are doing trade shows, either for the first time or if they want to up their game a little bit?
Well, trade shows they're a lot of fun. I really enjoy them. But they can be a lot of work. So I think the biggest tip and the biggest takeaway is to be organized, and it's never too early to start planning. There'll always be things that come up last minute that you have to be prepared for. So at least if you have a lot of the bigger things out of the way as early as you can focus on those little things that are just bound to come up at the end.
And when you say organized, do you mean like trying to have a lot of, I'm just throwing ideas out there, having a lot of focus meetings with stakeholders in your company before, like months before, or I've seen, like, obviously you guys are working on designs and stuff like that. Can you describe what it means in that way to be organized or to be, what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, organized comes down to time management skills, especially as you approach the trade show deadlines. There's a lot of deadlines. There's deadlines for paperwork. There's deadlines when you need to have things sent to the printers. There's, deadlines for everything. Internal deadlines, of course, and external deadlines, like with the actual shows. So the organization comes down to the time management. It also comes down to just being organized as a company. We kind of have a calendar that we create for our trade shows that, I need this from this team by this date. I need our demo ready from our, technology team by this point so we can go over it as a team, that the team that's going to represent us at the trade show. Yep. So just being organized and being aware of like the deadlines and what you need from not only yourself, but also like the other teams. I mean, it is a full team effort. I mean, that's the one thing about trade shows too. It really does take every single person across a multitude of departments to make it happen.
And then can you describe a little bit about the relationship and how you work with a booth company? It's not like you're going there with your own, like folding tables and stuff like that. Like this is oftentimes a very big, well-designed, well-branded piece. How do you work with the booth companies in general?
I think the biggest thing when you're working with a booth company is just to be upfront about your budget, what you're looking for, what you need to have in a booth, whether that's demo stations, whether that's more like conference areas, whether you want to have, closed off office space for like meetings and whatnot. I think that's the most important thing is a lot of times people have these meetings with booth companies. They're not fully transparent or they don't really have a vision or know like we need to have 6 demo stations. We need to have 10 TVs. And I think just knowing what you need and knowing what is going to work best for your products and services and just having that in your mind and being able to fully tell that, like disclose that up front, I think is the biggest thing when working with a booth company.
Definitely. And then once you get to the event, how do you attract visitors to the booth?
Well, it's really key to have an attractive booth. Obviously, if you have things going on in the booth, whether that's games or you have, running footage on your TVs or you have anything like that, anything that's going to attract people to it. If you're giving having a really good giveaway or even like your tchotchke items that you're giving out, if there's something that people are going to want,
yep.
They're going to come by and they're going to talk to you. We always try to have some kind of interactive element in our booth to get people over to talk to us. And then once they're there, we're not, obviously we're in advertising and marketing. And so it's not the goal for us to necessarily close business on the spot. It's more of, hey, let's take you through a demo. Let's sit down and tell you what we do and, why you should work with us, why you should partner with us, how that's a benefit for you. So it's more of us having those conversations and getting them to where we can get back in touch with them, capture their information, get the lead so we can, go back to them and then send a team to have a pitch or a discovery call with them at that point. So, for us, it's mainly just about having an attractive booth and some kind of interactive element to get people to come by and, always a good giveaway. We've given away like Final Four tickets in the past at our booth and things like that. So just having like that hook, it's just like anything else. If you got to kind of think of it as if you're in a mall or you're shopping or driving down a road in a new town you've never been to. Like you're going to go to some place that sounds like it might have something that you would want or would interest you. Or, it's a really cool building and you're like, oh, let's go check that out. It's the same thing in a trade show, except there's just a lot of them in a very tight space.
Yeah, I would definitely go to the place that had those giving away Final Four tickets.
I mean, yeah, of course, right? So that's kind of, I think that's really critical. And again, that comes with the organizing and the planning, is just being able to think all of that through.
And you started to talk a little bit about this in terms of the general engagement with people who are coming to or near your booth. But what does that kind of conversation sound like when you're just starting off? Like you've mentioned elevator speeches in the past, but do you guys train or practice or anything so that when that opportunity comes, you're able to express yourselves clearly or build that relationship that down the road could lead to business, with that potential client? Yeah.
So for us, we want to make sure that everybody in the company that's going to the trade show is all talking about us in the same way. We want to make sure everybody's got the correct information. Things change pretty quickly, especially with digital advertising and marketing. So just making sure that everybody, is up to speed on what the latest products that we're offering, what the latest services we're having, making sure that we've had products in the past that we no longer offer anymore. So just making sure that people are aware of those things, especially ones, we try to take a wide variety of people. We take digital people, we take sales people, we take people in marketing, we take, people in videography. So we have pretty much experts on all of our products and services there. And so, somebody in SEO might not touch everything with social media all the time, but they can talk about it because they know the products. I mean, everybody that works here is very well versed in our day-to-day products. But we just want to make sure that everybody is talking about SoCal, or any company. If you're, it doesn't matter if you're an energy company or, whatever, at a bridal show, whatever your industry is, just making sure everybody is talking about the company in the same voice.
Absolutely. Because in the end, it's our brand.
Right. And that's the thing. We wanted to be true to our brand, and that includes how we talk about the company.
At your booth itself, what are the different pieces of technology, especially over the years, that you found very helpful as a digital advertising agency to have? Like you've mentioned televisions. I think you guys, I don't know if you're using iPads these days or laptops, but like, what are the different means of kind of expressing your brand or your vision at these trade shows?
Yeah, so we always have TV monitors spread out around the booth. Obviously, we'd like to keep our running footage on one. You know, that's usually just a video of, it'll scroll through like, you know, what our partnerships are. Like, you know, we're partnered with like Kia and Mazda and Infiniti on their like OEM list. You know, we're Google certified, we're Microsoft certified, all of these things. We kind of have those running through so people can kind of see those things. And then we also have, you know, running footage from our production team. Our production team's fantastic and they do great commercials and spots for our clients. So we have a lot of like, you know, running like real footage of that and, you know, that kind of thing that's really important. Because people will be walking by and they'll see that and then it just kind of piques their interest.
Like a portfolio almost.
Like, almost, kind of.
This is what we're capable of, so to speak.
Sure,
yeah. We shot that there, we shot that there.
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. So we have those. And then obviously there's TVs, so we can do demos on the TVs. And then the past few years, we had never really looked at doing demos like on laptops, but, you know, we've always done demos on laptops and never done them like on iPads or anything. But we changed that a couple years ago for the simple fact that people now are mostly on their mobile devices. That's where most people are researching. They're looking up, you know, things. And obviously we represent a lot of car dealers. And so a lot of consumers are shopping on their cell phones for cars. They're scrolling through to learn about a car, whatever. And so we've taken the demo platform and made it mobile friendly. And so a lot of times now we can demo like on an iPad. So it's more representative of how people, for example, like our websites, you know,
how it would actually exist.
How it would actually look on, you know, especially like our websites. You know, a lot of dealers use our websites and again, most people are shopping on their phones now. And so it kind of gives them an idea of like, oh my gosh, this is how my website would look to somebody that would looking for my car. This website looks amazing. It looks a lot better than what I currently have. You know, so I think that having the demos now like on, you know, and of course we have laptops there so we can demo on a larger screen. Yeah. But it just makes it a lot easier. And it's also a lot easier if somebody comes up to you and just wants to have like a quick conversation. You don't have to take them over to a demo space. You can have an iPad right there in your hand to pull out and be like, let me just show you real quick how this works. You know, somebody's more likely to have a 5-minute conversation with you in that setting than necessarily going to like a demo station and wanting to do like a 30-minute demo.
Because it's almost intimidating with the formality of that.
Yeah, you know, and I think, and also obviously COVID, I'm sure we'll talk about this in a little bit, how COVID kind of changed the trade show scene. But, you know, with COVID, a lot of people, when we first started back doing trade shows, like, you know, in 2021, a lot of people didn't want to have those kind of like long conversations close in close quarters like that. Yep. And so being able to do like a shorter demo right there on the spot really just became beneficial. And I think that's just kind of the way the world is turning.
Overall, how would you measure? I personally think this would be difficult to measure, but how do you measure success at the end of a trade show? All the time spent or money spent or travel expenses?
Sure.
Is it just the leads that would end up at the end, or is there something more? How do you measure it?
We define success in a lot of different ways in the trade show business. You know, it's, were you there? Did you get out? Were you able to make connections? Were you able to get a good amount of leads? Yep. You know, it's not so much closing the business. You know, some of these, you know, we've had accounts that we've met at trade shows that it's been a year, you know, it's taken a year to close them, but we met them at a show this time last year. So it's not so much about that. It's really, you are right. It's really, really hard to identify. But in my opinion, it's a successful trade show. If we go, we represent our company well, and we bring back, you know, some good solid leads.
Yep. Can you talk a little bit about the things that you over the years have found interesting, like the giveaways? Like I remember on social media a few years ago, I'll never forget seeing Matt Wingfield scoot around. It might have been at NADA or Brett.
It was a digital dealer and NADA. We did one of both of them, I think.
It was some kind of motorized scooter.
Yeah, and a cruising cruiser.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was so cool from like an outsider's perspective, even though like, I don't know how much it costs or anything, but just to have something fun that represent our brand with, you know, logos on the side or anything like that. But I just wanted to get your opinion, like, out of different things that you've given away over the years. What were things that you thought were, oh man, these are special, or these are really cool? They're all special, obviously, but like these ones you were touched by it to see or something?
Well, having a good giveaway is kind of important. You don't always have to do a giveaway at a show or anything like that. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But most of the bigger shows, it's just a way to be able to get an extra time with that person, filling out the lead form or getting, most of the time there's, obviously requirements. We're not just going to give away Final Four tickets to anybody. Most of the time, it's like, if they have to do a demo or whatever, there's restrictions to be able to qualify to get those. We try to keep it where anybody can qualify for it. Like, not everybody is looking necessarily to switch to work with us, and that's okay. But so it doesn't necessarily disqualify you from being able to get the prize. But we just try to keep it fair for everybody. But some of the cool ones that we've given away in the past, I know last year when we were at NADA, we had signed jerseys. We were in Dallas, so Dallas is a really big sports city. Yeah. So we had some signed jerseys, and so that was pretty cool to give away. And we tied those to games, so they didn't necessarily have to be interested in one of our products or services. They came by if they had the high score on the game for the weekend, and they got got the prize. So we had, that was pretty cool. We had a basketball game, and that was a signed Dallas Mavericks player was the jersey. And so whoever had the highest score for the whole weekend, so people would come back by the booth to see if they still had the high score. And, so that was kind of fun. And people got really into it. And we kept we were able to see people, multiple times that weekend. And so that was kind of fun. So that's been probably one of my favorites that we've done in the past.
Especially because it has the interactive element.
Yeah. Anything, like I said, I'll go back to this over and over again. Anything that you can do just to get people to come to your booth, to hang out, to have those conversations, that's always going to help. Trade shows are an opportunity to get really personable with your audience or with your potential clients, where you don't necessarily get that in email. You aren't going to get that by sending, doing a social media post. You're not going to do that by sending a mailer. So it's just an opportunity to get really personable with your potential audience. And, anything that you can do to create that kind of connection is just a win-win for everybody.
Definitely. So this one's a fun one.
Great.
What can you do to make your booth stand out? I'll give you a couple of hints. It could be the way it's designed architecturally, but also what people wear, how they look, so to speak. I feel like you guys are masters at this, but can you describe what you do to try to make it all cohesive and make it stand out?
Well, we have an amazing creative director here who just really knocks out our booth theme every single year. And so he's just absolutely incredible. And like I said, it takes a whole team to put this on, and so him and I work really closely together. And our CEO, who was on our last podcast, Michael Ransom, the three of us work really, really closely together to, nail down the theme and all of that each year. Yep. And then obviously our CEO and our CFO get involved at that point too. And we kind of just, nail down the cohesive theme. But it's really important when you're in a trade show room, especially shows like NADA and, some of these other big ones. It's really important to try to stand out the best you can. And that's hard because, you're in a room and, I know at NADA a couple years ago, it was 7 football fields long. And so to get people to come by your booth, they're not going to come by not everybody's going to come by your booth. Not everybody's going to even see your booth because there's just so much there. Yep. But we always try to stand out by having a really good kind of theme. And you don't always have to have a theme, but just kind of having a really attractive booth that gets people's attention. Yep. Having the interactive elements, that always helps to stand out. Something that people can do to win a prize. People love to win things. So something they can do to win a prize, or something they can do or the grand prize is really good. Maybe you're giving away Super Bowl tickets, you're giving away concert tickets, or something that's, really big, that's always something that people are like, okay, I'm going to go by this booth because they're giving away Taylor Swift tickets. Yep. And my daughter would love Taylor Swift tickets. That's something that people are going to go see you to do. And we also just try to have really good branding. That's really important. They're going to see the signage that you have up. They're going to see the screens as they're walking by. So anything like that. And then, like you mentioned, kind of the outfits that people are wearing, we try to be more fun with it. Last year we did sports themes. One day we wore jerseys, custom SoCal jerseys. Yep. And so we were able to really, stand out. It was just a cohesive theme. A couple years ago, we did a themed, old time service station. And so we had like service shirts on that were like buttoned down, like with the patches on that had like our names and like the SoCal like logos and so, you know, just things like all of that really does matter. People may not think all of that matters, but it really, truly does, because people pay attention to that stuff more than what you think they do.
Do you think that people are really energized going through it, that it helps galvanize the company and anyone who's participating in it, that they're almost like lifted up by the whole experience and they're like, I love my company more than ever. Like, do you feel like there's a general inspiration that's provided by going through this together?
So I think so. I think the great thing about trade shows, especially here at SoCal, is that we try to take people from all different departments. So it's not just salespeople that are going. It's not just people from marketing that are going to these. So we really try to have people from all different departments kind of buy into it. You know, and it's a really good opportunity for them to go to something and be able to talk to people about what they're an expert in. Definitely. You know, it's a really fun experience. It's fun for a team to be able to kind of bond, because it's a different kind of setting that you're bonding in. So it is just a really good opportunity, and I really do like the way that we do it at a lot of places. And, you know, what we do and how we do our trade shows by taking people from all different departments might not work for every company. Some companies, it might be best if you're taking just your salespeople. So, you know, you have to find out what works kind of for your company. We have found this is kind of the best that for our company, the best way that we do it. Because we like having people, you know, that are experts in websites. So if somebody's got like, you know, a hard-hitting question about websites that I don't know all the ins and outs on, but oh my gosh, we have a web developer here. He knows everything about it, you know, or same with like SEO. You know, somebody can sign up. You know, we've got, before we even go to a trade show, we usually have kind of like a schedule. You know, so people are interested, they can submit and kind of like schedule a demo or schedule a time. And like we ask, you know, what are you most interested in? So if we know, okay, they're interested in our SEO packages, well, we're going to make sure that we have an SEO representative there when that demo is happening. So that way they can answer any questions in depth that they might have. But I do feel that having the buy-in from the staff that goes is really, really important, because obviously if they're excited to be there and they're excited about the show, then they're going to be more excited about our products. And that being excited about that's also going to carry over when they're talking about the company.
Definitely. And it seems like such a natural extension of what we do. We have to be able to talk about what we're able to offer potential clients, that we're here to help in all these different ways. But for everybody to kind of understand from all different, I'm not going to say walks of life, but different departments, to understand in a new way, like, this is what we stand for, and this is what we're offering, and just because we've grown so much over the years from 10 to 150 employees or whatever, but I feel like sometimes it's easy in larger companies to get siloed and to be like, you know, I don't know what they're doing in programmatic exactly. I don't know what they're doing in paid search. I think it's this, but like to be able to participate in a trade show where you are able to expound upon what we actually offer, what we actually do, I think is helpful for anybody from all those different departments. Yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's really important. Like you said, you know, we've grown a lot. I mean, I've been here since 2018, and, you know, we've probably doubled since I've been here, you know, just that short of time, with clients and with employees. Definitely. And, you know, it is easy to get like in your silo, but I think we do a really good job as a company of like cross training, having lunch and learns, so people can know what's going on in other departments and be able to ask questions. And I feel like we have a really big like open door policy at our company. And so to get ready for these trade shows, it's very easy to like, you know, be like, okay, we're having a team meeting on this day before we go to the show. I need, you know, you're going to the show, you're an expert on the websites. I need you to tell us, like, you know, 5 minutes what's changed about websites in the past, you know, couple months. You know, but I feel like we do a pretty good job as a company. And I think if anybody that's looking to go to trade shows or start going to trade shows, I think it's really important that you kind of have, just that your staff is trained on like what's current, what's going on with your company. So again, everybody's talking about the company in the same light and the same voice. I do also think it's helpful too, with a lot of times when you are building booth materials, it's like you're learning what we actually are selling, so to speak. And so like I think you guys do like a booklet every single year or something like that.
Yeah,
and
we do
that'll
some kind
outline.
We do some kind of collateral every year. It's kind of
offerings.
some kind of like takeaway. We don't want it to be something that is really big and bulky and people aren't going to read through. So we want it to be, pretty concise about, it's supposed to be a hook. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to get people interested to want to learn more, to go to our website, to schedule a demo, to pick up the phone, to call us, that kind of thing. So that the booklet, or the rack cards or whatever we're doing for, to give out to people is like the informational section. We always just want that to be, pretty clear, concise. And we do have, we get that information straight from the people that are the ones, like the experts in those fields. And I think that's pretty interesting too. We're making sure that stuff is up to date, and we update it every year. Like, we don't take the same ones year to year because things change, especially in a digital advertising company. Things change. What probably was true 5 minutes ago when we started this conversation is probably already changed by the time this is going to end. So, I think that's really critical to keep everything fresh and up to date.
Absolutely. A couple last ones. So how do you decide what to bring in terms of collateral or materials? You don't want to bring too much or too little, but how do you make those kind of decisions?
I think it kind of depends. Obviously, it's going to depend on the industry, like what we take for collateral to give away, whether that's, tchotchkes, whether that's, marketing materials, whatever. What we take may not work for every company. True. It's going to kind of vary and depending on what your industry is, what kind of vertical you're in. So I think, obviously, we're a marketing agency. So having some kind of good marketing materials that's going to get them interested, they see something that's really creative and that really speaks to our brand. That says a lot for us. We're a marketing company, so we can't market ourselves. That's an issue. You don't want, if you can't market yourself as a marketing agency, I wouldn't want you marketing my business. So being able to have good, catchy marketing materials is just critical for us as an agency. How much to bring of it? We've been going to these for a while now. The show we're going to in October is not the largest show that we go to. It's still a very big show. It's just not our largest show. Mm-hmm. I never want to be in a situation where we don't have enough materials. So I overpack always, just like in my real life when I go on vacation, I always overpack. But it's easier to bring stuff back than it is to, you don't want to get out there and get in a situation where you don't have enough and have to tell people, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out of this. But you can go to our website because chances are they're probably not going to go to your website. Yep. So I always err on the side of caution and take more. More is less. Definitely. So, cool. Instead of less is more is less in this occasion.
What is an example of an unforeseen challenge that you faced out there in the trade shows, and how did you deal with that?
So obviously COVID was a big deal. Trade shows, they're always person to person, business to business, business to customer, and when COVID hit in 2020, the trade show industry stopped on its head. I mean, we were scheduled to go to trade shows and, we were canceled literally 3 weeks beforehand. It was a crazy time. We put all this time in, all this work into it, and we're like, okay, we're not going. So, it kind of flipped on its head and everything kind of went digital. Well, myself, probably like most people that deal with trade shows, we've never done digital, virtual trade shows. That's very difficult to do. How do you create that kind of relationship through a computer with somebody that you're used to being able to create that kind of relationship in person with? Definitely. And it's hard, you're not in a physical booth. People aren't walking by and seeing what you have to offer, right there on the spot. It was a big challenge as these trade shows went digital of how to handle that. And every show kind of did it a different way because, again, there's no cookie cutter way to do a digital trade show. Some of them did it where the show would be open from 9 to 5, and people could come to your virtual booth and ask questions there on the spot. So you had to have a staff that was basically at a computer from 9 to 5, being able to field questions and answer them and be on call pretty much. And then some of them did it where you had a virtual trade show booth. People could leave you messages, like a message board. So people were having to monitor the message board because, you don't want anything out there that's, or you get a disgruntled client that sees it and it's oh, true. I work with this company. You should not work with this company. You don't want that on there for potential customers. to see.
Yep.
So, there was things like that you had to monitor, and you had to be able to, luckily that never happened to us, but I do know some companies that did happen to.
Yeah.
And, they had to be on the spot, had to be able to reply to that, being able to defend themselves. So it was really tricky. The platforms were also kind of clunky and kind of convoluted. They were a little difficult to use because, again, they had hiccups in them because they just built them on the spot, and then some of the programs, you had like multiple programs. You had one that was like your trade show booth, and then you had another one that was like a networking platform. And so it was like all these platforms that weren't speaking to each other that you had to master and figure out. And then of course there were still crazy deadlines with those as well, and so it was a really complicated time. I'm really thankful though that I got the opportunity to kind of learn how to navigate those waters. Hopefully nothing like COVID ever happens again where we have to go back to that kind of virtual world. But I do know that some trade shows have kept some platforms, like the networking platform, being able to like go on beforehand and kind of network with vendors and the people that are going to be there in advance. They've always had kind of some networking, but this is like a more in-depth networking platform that they have now. And so I am thankful that I was able to develop that skill set in case we ever need to use that. But, it was definitely a challenging time.
If you go to a trade show, how important is it to do, like, is 90% of the work you're doing at the trade show itself? Or a lot of times I'll hear about events that are happening, or maybe bands will come or anything, or DJs afterwards. Do you think those are important at all? Or do you think it's just what happens on that trade show floor that's like the most prominent, important aspect?
So every trade show is different. But most trade shows do have some kind of like networking element outside of the trade show, whether that is like a brunch before the trade show, or everybody's like gathered like in a room and they're like, it's just a good way to like network with people. I'll say it again, trade show is really about making those connections, that networking, being able to be in person, to have those kind of conversations. I think it's really important. Any kind of event, a lot of them are included. Like if you are part of the booth, like if you're the whatever level or sponsorship or whatever, sometimes they're included. Sometimes you have to pay extra for them.
Yeah.
If you can send representatives to some of those things to be able to just be there and be able to have conversations. People will ask like, oh, where are you from? And you can be like, oh, well, I'm from SoCal. I'm, a marketing agency, and you're not necessarily there to sell or really to talk about your product, but it's just a way to be
you're
like,
there to share.
You're just there to be able to be like, hey, I'm at booth such and such. Why don't you come by and see me tomorrow? I'd love, love to talk to you more about it if you're having issues with this. It's just a way to network. People are at those events to have a good time and to have fun. So, you don't want to be too salesy in those situations, but you do it is a prime opportunity to start making those connections and maybe get that traffic to your booth.
Definitely. Any other last tips that you wanted to pass on to people after the years that you've been working on booths?
I think the most important.
Shows, excuse me. Sorry.
I think the most important takeaway, especially for anybody looking to get in the trade show industry, like I said before, is just to stay really organized, be on top of it. Dates sneak up on you faster than what you can ever imagine, especially when you're in the thick of things, especially during trade show season. This is trade show season for us that's starting up, and so dates sneak up extremely fast. I think it's really key to have good communication with your booth company, with your internal teams, and just know the contacts, know who to reach out to, and obviously have fun at them. Like trade shows are a good time. They are a lot of fun. Like I really enjoy them. This is what I love to do. I love planning the trade shows. Like I'm passionate about it. I think they're great. And so I think really you just to be immersed in it and enjoy it.
Thank you very much for stepping off the couch for a second and going into more of a sharing role here and sharing your experience in this industry.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Like I love, like I said, I love trade shows. I could talk about this stuff all day long. So I really enjoyed being here on this side of the interview this time. And I hope all of you listening maybe learned something. If you have any interest in getting into trade shows, or even if you're seasoned pros, maybe there was a takeaway or two.
Absolutely. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.